You're listening to the Country Chat Podcast with your host, Dom. Subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and follow us on Twitter at country_chat. And stay up to date.
Hi there, you're listening to the Country Chat Podcast with me, Dom. Today I've got a slightly different guest. I've got a guest from Canada who lives in Saskatchewan. His name is Codie Prevost. Hi, Codie.
Dom, how are you?
I'm good. How are yourself?
This is awesome. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the podcast today. I'm honored to be here.
No worries. I'm honoured to have you on here. Now, you live in the Mountain Time area of Canada.
Yes.
So it is now, 10 past 10 in the morning?
Yes, exactly. So we're just getting fired up here for the day, and we're finally getting the snow. It's finally melting.
Oh, that's
and
good.
Summer's on the way. So it was only 1 week ago. We were still sledding down hills, so it's things are looking good.
Oh, that's crazy. So
yeah.
In relation to Canada, then it's more to the left-hand side of the country. Are you towards the middle of Canada? On the left-hand side.
Yeah, a little to the left, but in the majority in the middle, I guess you could say. But we get, it's quite a bit winter here, so we get 6 to 7 months of cooler temperatures, and then we get 3 to 4 months of nice temperatures. So we're just getting into that part right now. So it's that's exciting. Even on, what I mean, with all the things that are happening in the world right now with the virus and everything that's been happening, it definitely helps out to start getting into some nicer weather so you can get outside in the yard and at least get some fresh air and sunshine. So
what's it been like in Canada for yourself regarding this whole COVID-19 coronavirus lockdown? What is the lockdown like for you over there?
Well, so it started, I guess, probably, 2 months ago now. But basically, nobody's leaving home. Everybody's just kind of staying tight, which is good because our numbers in Saskatchewan are really good. We haven't had a curve really yet. So it's been a true blessing, actually. But right now they're talking about already in the middle of May opening some of the first businesses back up, and then from there doing stages of reopening the province, the state up. So it's I don't know. It's hard to know what to expect, but as far as lockdown's gone, we have 2 young girls. Their ages are 2 and 5. So you can look at it however you want, but at the same time, I kind of see it as a blessing that, these are the most important years of their lives and in growing up. And so to be able to spend more time with them it's just been amazing.
How have they found it all? Have they managed to understand, the whole importance of staying indoors and flattening the curve, as they say?
Oh, for sure. I think they're at the age, though, they don't really understand what's going on. They think they're just staying home and getting to play every day. So it's, it's at that. But I'm actually kind of excited about that, too, because, I've heard about a lot of teenagers and kids who are a little bit older being pretty nervous about the whole situation. So to see, kids the kids that we have, that age, just having fun, that's kind of, to me, that's awesome.
Yeah. So you live in Saskatoon in Saskatchewan. What is the population like there? Is it highly populated, or is it like a quiet, nice town?
Oh, it's fairly small. Anywhere you want to go, you can drive there within 15, 20 minutes, even in rush hour. So it's about 275,000 people live in the city.
Oh, wow.
So it's a nice size, I've been to a lot of cities across Canada and a lot in the United States where there's, you're looking at closer to 1 million people, and to get anywhere might take you anywhere from an hour to 3 hours. So when I look at things that way, I'm always blessed to come home and to be able to get in my car and be home within 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. So what's the music scene like in Saskatoon? Is it very much country music orientated, or is it a variety?
Oh, it's a variety. Country music is quite popular, but there's also pop and rock and jazz, and there's a little bit of everything. But as of right now, obviously, like all the music concerts, all the venues, like everything's been shut down. I actually had quite a few concerts in the, in the booking stage. Yeah. And like within 1 week, everything was canceled and shut down. So it's, it definitely, I think people, when everything gets back to normal, I think they're going to be looking forward to getting out again and seeing some music. And I'm definitely, as an artist, I really miss playing live music for people. You can play on FaceTime and on live streams, but, in all truthfulness, it's not the same. Like I miss the true interaction with real people.
Yeah. So we talk about actually the music and the money side of things. You've got a website, which is CodiePrevost.com.
Yeah.
On the website, that's the only place you can actually buy your whole newish album, Radio.
Yeah, so I was doing the thing because, I'm sure you're well aware that there's streaming services these days, and it's awesome, that any artist can upload their music and get it distributed all over the world. But I really want to keep something exclusive, because what I've done over the past year is I've built a brand new fan club called the Codie Roadies. And
yes.
So the basic idea behind the Codie Roadies was to appreciate my true fans, the ones who have supported me from day one, the ones that, through all this coronavirus are still Codie Roadies members. And, I wanted to give them exclusive rights to the album. So basically it's available in there, and you basically get all the music if you become a Codie Roadies member. But also, I shouldn't just say it's exclusive to them, because it is available on my official site, and you can stream it on there also. And, I have a couple of the singles and stuff that were on radio. I have those up on Spotify because people search for those quite often.
Yeah.
So I put those up on Spotify. But I just really wanted to keep some exclusiveness to the album for my true fans and for my biggest supporters.
Yeah, I noticed on, I think it was Facebook or Twitter, where you actually called out one of your bigger fans. I think her name's Pat, who actually runs a lot of the fan sites.
Yeah.
So a big shout out to her then.
Yeah, for sure. Like, Pat's amazing. She's been with me for so long. And there's just, there's country music always amazed me, because the fans would drive 2 to 3, 4, 5 hours. They'd get on a plane. They'd come to see you perform. It's like, oh, you came all this way to see the show. And it's just, when you see people go through that to support you, you really, as an artist, I wanted to find some way that I could appreciate them. And so I just thought, well, what better way than to have their own community where everybody could log in, and I log in every day, and there's chats, live chats every morning in there. There's exclusive content every single week. Now I'm starting the online house concerts, which is basically I'm giving my closest fans the opportunity to host a house concert. So anybody in the Roadies gets the opportunity to host an online house concert for them and their friends. Their friends don't have to be Roadies members, but they get to invite all their friends to their own personal house concert. So I was just, it's been pretty cool, and we're just getting those started. So I'm excited. The first one's actually coming up here right away, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah. You also do the Codie Diaries as well, on what you send out through your mail as well. I get emails every other day, I think it is, from your fan pages about the Codie Diaries.
Yeah, for sure. So those you can just join right at CodiePrevost.com. As soon as you join the newsletter, you'll start getting the diary series. And when I was starting out, one of my biggest things at my shows would be to tell people where I'm from and make a connection with the audience. And when it came to online, I found well, how can I do that same thing through online? How can I make that connection with people? And so I came up with the concept of the Codie Prevost Diaries. And it's basically mini stories of how I started my journey in music, and how I went through taking out a small business loan to travel to Nashville, and, just the struggles and hills I had to climb to overcome to get to the fifth album and where I'm at, and with the Codie Roadies today. And just all through that was just a huge journey. And so I just think people, that a lot of times they enjoy reading those things about how somebody got started.
Yeah. So we'll go back right to the beginning then, before we actually look at your your newest album. So what was it that actually pushed you to go into country music?
Well, that's an interesting question because I didn't start in country music. I started performing punk rock music in high school.
Yeah.
With a couple friends. And we did this for a while, and we just thought it was awesome that we'd learn all these intros to like Blink 182 songs, Green Day, like even as far as Metallica and all these bands that were just huge at the time, AC/DC. And I had a close uncle of mine, and he loved country music. We had a family reunion, and unfortunately he passed away at that family reunion. And I just remember they were like, right before he passed away, they were playing guitar, singing country songs. And so we had to travel to Calgary, Alberta to attend his funeral because he was from a different province.
Yeah.
And I'd saved up this money. I was working on road construction that previous summer, and I had this $1,100 saved up, and I'm like, I'm going to buy a new electric guitar when I go to Calgary for the rock band. And so I went into the music store. My dad was with me, and I started trying out these electric guitars, and they were pretty good. And my dad said, well, why don't you go try out an acoustic guitar? Because he's more of a country boy.
Yeah.
And so I went into the acoustic room, and I sat down, and there was this Takamine, which is a brand name of acoustic guitar. And I did one strum on the acoustic guitar, and I ended up buying that guitar that day because it sounded so amazing. And I still have that guitar today. But I went home after that trip to Calgary, and I don't know if it was because of my uncle and his love for country music and something maybe to do with I grew up on a farm my whole life, and it was my roots. But I just learned Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison Blues, and ever since that day, it's been nothing but country music.
So I'll dive into a little bit of each of the albums then quickly. You mentioned that you did like a punk rock band and you're doing Green Day and Metallica. I've noticed with particularly All Kinds of Crazy and Get Loud, those two albums, they're very much electric guitar based. Is that from your punk rock, the punk rock time? Is that what kind of like helped develop into those two albums?
I think so, and one of the things that I've always loved, is bigger sounds. Like I've loved full body, full sound, bigness, theaters, theme songs, just that bigness to music. I've always, because to me, when I listen to songs like that and I turn them up in headphones, I can get on a certain wavelength and feel something from the music, and it's just, there's something about it that I just gravitated towards. And I'm kind of to all extremes though, because, I went from punk rock, and now when I listen to music outside of country music, I love there's Bryan Adams, and there's all these other bands, and I love acoustic music now. I love when somebody records more of a raw album where it's just recorded into a microphone with just a guitar and a close vocal. I think I'm just a music lover, and that's, every album I do, I'm at a different place in my life, and I have different influences, and that's what I love about music, is it evolves and it changes.
Yeah. That's the main thing with music as well, is nobody is just drawn to one genre. We're all drawn to multiple genres. I mean, I grew up with Blink-182 and Green Day and all those kind of bands, but then to look at me now where I love country music, if I was to bleed, it'd be country music at the moment. And the one thing that I do love, especially with your first album, it was very much a country album. Then you went into Spin, which was your second album.
Yep.
And then you went through into Get Loud, and then all Kinds of Crazy, and then now Radio. You can see almost like a maturing, first you start with the country music, and then it kind of develops into a slightly louder sound. And then with Radio, it almost not mellows out, but you can see everything is just so refined, and everything's just so, you can see exactly where you wanted everything, and it just works.
Yeah, and a lot of that too, Dom, that comes from when I first did my first album in the studio, I went to Nashville and I took out a small business loan, and I worked with a producer there. And I walked in the studio and I sat down, and there was musicians who were playing at the time with Big and Rich, with Gretchen Wilson, with like all these major artists.
Yeah.
And so I was a little bit overwhelmed, I guess you could say, because we walked in the room and next thing you know, I just hear these guys playing these songs, and I just never envisioned these songs coming to life like they were coming to life at that moment.
Yeah.
And what happened with that though was like, because I was so enthralled with that experience, which was amazing, you know, I really didn't know much about the recording process at the time. I really didn't know what I wanted. I didn't really know what sounds I wanted. I just loved what I was hearing. And as I went album to album to album, then all of a sudden, you know, on that third album, I started feeling finally more comfortable in the studio. Finally, like things would pop into my mind, different guitar parts or harmonies, or, you know, like all of a sudden I started to get more of a musical sense of where I wanted to go. And so it's cool to hear you say that, because like every album brings so much more experience, and you try to use that experience to make every album evolve and become better, I would say.
Yeah. What was it like then, actually getting the business, trying to go for the business loan and then moving to Nashville, that whole experience? You know, did you drive down or did you fly down?
Well, so basically I never did live in Nashville. I've just always went there. So I always take trips there. Like back then I was going every 2 months, and I'd be there for a couple weeks at a time. And so basically I'd be down there, and I'd either be writing songs or recording music. And I did the first 2 albums there. And then I came back to Canada, and I worked in a city called Vancouver on the next 2 albums. And then on the radio album, I went totally departure, and I worked with a producer out of Vancouver, but we did it really remotely. And so he would come here to Saskatoon, to my province, and we would work a little bit in my basement on this album, which was totally like, I was like, man, I've always been in a big studio with big, like, you know, speakers and this and that. And now we're singing songs in my basement. And so, and we just did this, and we, like, when I would want a part, because of all the experience of working with many, many different musicians. Yeah. So I would basically, me or the producer would reach out to a musician, say in Nashville, or if I knew a better musician that I thought would be better for that part, I would reach out to them. And if they're in Vancouver, or if they're in a small town, and then they basically record the part and send it back. And like, even if you heard a song on the new album called Shut It Down, so you'll hear an organ part in there. And basically the organ part, we were looking at my producer, I was working with 2 producers, and the producer in Saskatoon said, oh, you know, I've always wanted to try this. Why don't we just try it? It doesn't, like, it's not a lot of money to, like, for an expense. Why don't we just try hiring an organ player off Fiverr? And Fiverr's where you know, hire people to do odd jobs. And so we hired this organ player out of the Philippines, and he nailed the part. He sent it back to us. It was in time. This is exactly what we were thinking, exactly the part we wanted.
Oh, wow.
And we put it in the track. And the funny part was when it come time to do the credits on the album, I'm like, well, who do I credit? So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, John1535 at hotmail.com in the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
for the organ part or whatever. But yeah, so it's, you know, recordings come such a long way, and the gear you can get in your own house, like you can record studio quality sound right from your basement, you know?
Yeah. So in your house now, have you got a full, like, home studio setup?
Yeah, so I got, like, interfaces they're called. So basically you can go out of your computer into an interface, and then you can hook through microphones, and you can plug your guitars into there and record through software on your computer, and it'll basically take the sound that's coming out of your guitar and put it into the software, and then you can edit it all together and make songs, and it's quite crazy, actually.
Yeah. Well, now, you've got a lot of awards behind you. I mean, like, a heck of a lot of awards. I mean, I'm just looking now. You got your Independent Music Awards, which you won in 2010. You've got the Saskatchewan Country Music Association Awards, where you've won, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in 1 year? That was 2011. Then you won another 3 the following year, and then another 2 the following year after that, another another 4 or 5 after that, and another 2 in 2015. Like, what's it like being nominated for the awards, first of all, and then actually finding out you've won the awards, and then going to the awards ceremony and then thinking, wow, what am I doing here?
Oh, it's such an honor, you know, like to be recognized by your peers in the music industry it's just something else, you know, like I'll never forget the time I won my first country music award. Like, and the reason being is like, I didn't get into music because of awards and because of this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That side of things. I got in because like my whole goal and my whole vision was that I seen my mom and my uncle at a family reunion play guitars and sing songs, and I seen people come together. It didn't matter if they were fighting that night or what they were up to, but they start playing guitars, and everybody was like in a loving mood then, and they were happy, and I thought, boy, you know, like look at that. No, that's power, you know, when you can pick up an instrument and stall like fighting at a party or whatever you want, and everybody's getting along all of a sudden. And so that's why I got into music, to bring people together and to share those moments in life. And when I started getting nominated for Country Music Awards, it was just like, it was more than I had ever dreamt of, because on that business plan. So in 2005, when I took out that loan to go to Nashville, I had to put together a 5-year business plan to be eligible to even get looked at to get that business loan. And so one of the things on my goals were to you know, be nominated for Country Music Awards. And at this time I was playing in a sweater vest in small town bars for $75, $100 a night. So I was like, man, this is quite a stretch, but I'm going to, you know what I mean? I'm going to go in and I'm going to try to, you know, see if I can get this business loan. So actually I should mention, before I got that business loan, I went into multiple banks and they said, no, we can't give you the money for something like this.
Oh no.
And finally I found an organization who believed in me to back me and give me the money to be able to go to Nashville. And so, you know, through all that journey and through everything that I had, you know what I mean, overcome, and those, you know, it just, when you get to that moment and you hear your name called or you see your name's nominated, you know what I mean, there's the hairs on your arm stand straight up, because it just means so much. Yeah. And, you know, and to this day, like, you know, it is shocking every time I get nominated, and it's just something that you can't give enough thanks for. And I'm just forever thankful for all the opportunities that have come from all those award shows and everybody all my peers who have nominated me for those things.
Yeah. Now, your wife, Ashley.
Yeah.
Did she go to the awards with you? Was she like your plus one?
Oh yeah, she's almost more well known than I am at those things.
Really?
So no, she comes along. It's awesome. You know, we haven't been able to bring the kids yet, but because they've always been too young before this, but I hope to bring them in the near future. I know Lyric, she's come, that's our oldest daughter, 5 now, and she's come to a couple shows, but they're more songwriter shows. So It's basically where you're sitting around and each guy plays a song, and she enjoyed that for about 10 minutes, and then she wanted to go home after that.
Oh, bless. That's so sweet.
I know that. I should say they did come to one other concert where there was dancing though, and they danced every single song. They never shut her down on the dance floor. So like, I know that there's potential, and they're like, you know, Everly and Lyric, they're both starting to play a little bit of piano, and they're singing in microphones. And so they're showing a lot of interest in music, which is pretty cool. But yeah, definitely Ashley comes to all those things with me.
Yeah. Now, growing up for you, what kind of music did you listen to? Did you listen to like your parents' music or?
Well, yes, I had no choice. Like, Mom owned the rights to the record player and the 8-track that we had, so she got to pick all the records that she would put on, and she'd always have like Loretta Lynn, Johnny Horton, Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't until I got into high school when me and my buddies were getting CDs like AC/DC and Blink-182. And I think we actually had cassettes too at that time. So we were, you know what I mean? We were listening to all those bands. And then I really got into that stuff. And that's when we started the punk rock band. And then the rest is history. Like I said, the story before about getting into country music.
Now, your kids, what kind of do they have any like particular taste in music yet, or are they just listening to whatever you listen to?
Yeah, pretty much. But, I sing quite a bit at home. So like even the traditional country songs that I sing, like Country Roads, they'll, I always catch them singing it now. And whatever's on the radio, like they really enjoy pop music too, which Lyric runs to the radio and she's got a little remote for it. So she cranks it right up as loud as it'll go.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty good.
Have you actually heard been driving down the road and then heard one of your songs come on the radio yet?
Oh yeah, that's there's no better feeling. It's like I remember the first time I heard that, and it was near my hometown, so it was a station that was fairly local, and I had just recorded a song that's not. I don't think it's available anywhere right now, but it was a song that I recorded locally, and I went into my local station, handed off a copy to them, and a little while later, I was driving down the road, and it was like a special show where they were featuring local artists. And on come the song, and I pulled the car over, and I just couldn't believe it. I just sat there and listened, and I was just like, "Oh, this is pretty cool to hear my song on the radio. Been dreaming of this day for a really long time."
Yeah. Now, what I want to go into is Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah.
On your Get Loud album. Why Cotton Eye Joe? Like, what was it about that song?
Well, there is a story. Like I used to listen to that as a kid. And then when I got into high school and stuff, my friends and I would crank that in the car. And it was just like, didn't matter where you were. Like as soon as you crank that song on, people are dancing, people are having a good time. So we were doing a bunch of live shows, and the band and I were looking for new songs if we were going to add a cover song into the show. And I kind of ran the idea of maybe doing Cotton Eye Joe to them. And they all kind of laughed it off and like, wow, that's probably. But we had a fiddle player at the time in the band, and she was a female, so it was perfect because we'd have both vocal parts. And so, a little while later, I said, "Well, you guys, let's try something. Let's just try it at the next show. If it goes over bad, we'll never do it again. But if it goes over good, we'll look at doing it in the future live shows." And so the first show, like everybody was going crazy. It was like a rave on the dance floor. Like it was just insane. And so after the show, the band's like, "Well, I guess we're doing that song again." And so I was getting ready to record. Well, that was the Get Loud album. And so I was in the recording process, and we had 11 songs, and we were like, I had never done a cover song on my albums before. And so I just remembered how that affected people when we played it live.
Yeah.
And there was a great artist named Katie Love Hess who I knew of, who had an amazing voice. And I said, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do a version of this Cotton Eye Joe. And I'll see how it goes. And so that was the first cover I ever did on an album, and the last one too. But I think it turned out great with Katie on there too.
See, the great thing with that song is it just fits so well with the whole album and the way that you sing it as well. It blends perfectly.
Well, thanks, man. And also, like, what's cool about it now is, so I have all those tracks. So if I ever want to go in and make like a cool remix, like that's pretty cool to have those foundational tracks to work from and to create something. Like maybe I want to go a little bit more outside the box with it and not straight up country, and just like add effects in, and like, so there's a lot of cool things you can do after the fact also.
Yeah. Now going from Cotton Eye Joe to your, the next album, All Kinds of Crazy. Out of that album, what is your favorite song?
On the All Kinds of Crazy album, I think my favorite one was Someday. And Someday was written in a matter of an hour. And it was me and my favorite songwriter from Nashville, Adam Wheeler. We write so many songs together. But we sat down and we wrote a song in the morning, went for lunch, came back. And usually a guy doesn't write 2 songs in one day, for myself anyway. And we sat down there and I started strumming this chord progression. And Adam said, "Well, what's that song?" And I said, "Oh, it's just an idea I've had for a while." And he started humming a melody. And next thing you know, boom, there's Someday. And Someday, we did a music video for that. And we talked to the director, and we came up with the idea to base the music video on domestic violence and bring awareness to what's happening in society a lot of times. And you never believe it. Like all of a sudden the song had over 500,000 plays on Spotify, and I was getting emails and messages from people from all over the world telling me what strength the song had given them to get out of the situation they were in. And that, I had never experienced that as a songwriter before. I had never experienced that natural kind of release a song and have it kind of just grab on, and people, really relate to it and they connect with the song. And so for me, that, like, as a songwriter, that changed a lot of things on my outlook for the power of music.
Yeah. Now, all kinds of crazy, the actual title song, it's one of those songs that I find that you can just belt out in your car. You can just drive along somewhere and just scream to the top of your lungs. And to be honest, with pretty much all of your songs, you can do that. Is that the kind of like the feels you wanted to go with the songs, where the listeners can just scream out along with you?
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Dom. I'm glad that we should get a video of you singing that one. It'd be awesome to share.
Last thing you want is that.
Oh, I bet you it'd be good. But no, I appreciate that, because, on my albums, like I always, like for me, music has always been, I guess I would say I'm not a trained musician. I'm more of a self-taught musician. So for me, when I'm playing music, when I'm singing music, a lot of my ability to entertain comes from the fact that, how does this feel?
Yeah.
And so when I'm picking songs, when I'm picking songs, writing songs, I'm always thinking, how does this feel? How will this make people feel? Will there be a steady beat? Will this make people feel happy? Will it make them feel positive? Will it make them, because one of my things is like positivity is huge in my life. Like every day I get up, I'm like, man, it's like, how can you not be thankful to be here? Like we're all on this journey through this time, and we're just, getting to experience this life. And it's like, all of us have something to share and something to give. And so how can you make people feel the thing that you have to share and give? And so that's one of the things that I've found that's been blessed in my life, is being able to feel music. And I think I'd much rather have that ability than be the top-notch best player that's ever lived on the earth, because I just, there's something about, for me, for entertaining, that it's all about people, and it's all about, what's this going to make those people feel?
Yeah. When you actually perform a gig at a venue, what is the one song that actually brings the crowd in, that makes people's heads turn, and the one that catches the most attention?
So I have a song, and it's called "I'm Okay," and "I'm Okay" was a song off the Get Loud album. And when I was going to high school, when I was growing up, my best friend lost her brother in a car accident. And at this time, I wasn't really, I had started playing guitar and stuff, but I really wasn't, that into it yet. And so, just seeing her go through that, I was like, man, I just wish there was some way that I could help people when they're going through something like that. And a few years later, fast forward, and I was down on these Nashville trips, meeting with these songwriters. Again, I was sitting down with that friend again who I wrote Someday with, Adam Wheeler. And I said, Adam, like, my friend went through this, and I've never forgotten that. Like, I've never forgotten the emotion that I've seen her, witnessed her having, and like just the heartbreak. And I said, man, I just feel like maybe my way of helping anybody going through something like that is writing a song.
Yeah.
And so we sat down, and we wrote this song on my Get Loud album called "I'm Okay." And so I'll share that story in my live show. And boy, there's been people come to the CD table after the show and meet me and just thank me for playing that. And like, it's another one like Someday, where people, once they know the story behind that, because it's really written from the person who passed on, letting their loved ones know that they're okay.
Yeah.
And they'll meet again one day. And so it's, that's one of my favorites to play.
Just so emotional.
Yeah. And that's it, man.
What is your favorite song to play then?
Favorite, like funnest, like, we had a lot of fun playing. Like we were talking about Cotton Eye Joe there, man, from festival stages to small town halls to bars. It didn't matter. As soon as you play Cotton Eye Joe, man, everybody's line dancing, everybody when we were playing in Calgary, they have the Calgary Stampede, which is world known.
Yeah.
And there's like some country clubs there, and you should see the people dancing there. I was actually in France performing, and so I played Cotton Eye Joe, and there was, I kid you not, there was probably 100 line dancers all in sequence dancing to that song on the dance floor. And I had never witnessed that before, but it's definitely been a favorite of mine to play. And it's just because to see people have that much fun, that makes it all worthwhile.
Well, that's it. It's all about having that fun and engaging with the crowd. Whereabouts have you actually traveled to then?
So I've been fortunate to go to Australia quite a few times. And then I've been to France. I've toured the United States quite a bit. I've went to, there's future talks potentially coming to the UK. There's obviously I've toured Canada a lot. And so, I've been fortunate to see a lot of the world. I've been to Thailand. I've been to, the Bahamas area, kind of, guess you would say. Yeah, so kind of all over the map I've gotten a chance to travel to. So that's every time I get on a plane and I look at my guitar, I'm like, man, I just can't believe that this guitar has taken me around the world to see all these different things.
So how does Codie travel then? Does he travel in economy, or does he travel up front with the first class lot?
Oh yeah, full economy style, man.
Oh, brilliant. Do you ever look at the people turning left on the plane and think, "Oh, you lucky people"?
Oh no, you know what? I really enjoy, like, I'll get on a plane, I'll sit down and see. Some people probably don't like me for it, but I'll just start chatting. I'll start asking questions, and lo and behold, you'd be surprised how much you find out about people, but just by asking one or two questions.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's pretty cool to be able to meet people from all over the world, but yet almost make connections like you've been friends for years, and that's one of my favorite things. And I think that's why the Codie Roadies and stuff, I've been able to build that. And because those are all these people who I've met, who I've, who I've become close with, who, and it continues to grow from new people, just, interacting in the same way.
Yeah. It's crazy the number of, not crazy, but it's great to see the number of dedicated fans you've actually got. I mean, I was looking at the Codie Prevost Facebook fan page today, and everybody loves you.
Well, I'm not sure. I can't say for sure, but definitely, like I said, one of my strongest things is I grew up on the farm, so family's always number one, and I've always treated my fan base like family, because I really think that's, it's a music family, and it's an online family, and they come to shows and we get to meet in real life, and there's some pretty cool moments, and like to share this life with as many people as possible is, to me, what it's all about.
Yeah. Out of your new songs then on radio, which one has been the most fun to perform, to actually record down, and B, what was the most entertaining and emotionally connective song that you have?
So Shut It Down, I would say, is one of the more, like, that's the one that gets people dancing. That's the one that gets people singing. That's the one that's like my Cotton Eye Joe on the radio album. And as far as like the coolest to play, I've been playing a lot of duo shows. So that means me and one other musician.
Yeah.
And he's been playing an instrument called the lap steel. And so the lap steel is kind of like a steel guitar, but it's just a little mini guitar that sits on his legs.
Lovely sound.
And makes like eerie sounds with it. And so one of my favorite songs to play has been Radio, because Radio was written, I remember in Nashville, I was sitting there that day and I was coming up with song ideas, and I was struggling to get anything to come to mind. And I looked around, I was staying with some close friends of mine, and they had this little writer room outside in their yard. And I went in there and I just sat down and I looked around the room. And I remember seeing all these old clock radios, and I was like, boy, and they must have just collected them just for that room, I think.
Yeah.
And so I looked at all these radios and I thought, boy, can you imagine the history and the stories that these things could tell if they could tell the stories of where they've been and what they've heard and what they've witnessed. And so I just started on that idea, and ended up getting together with a good friend of mine, Phil Barton, and we wrote this song called Old Clock Radio. And it's, and even some of the feedback from the people who have heard the album, like that's one of the favorite songs. And when I recorded it, it was really like, it starts out very raw, like acoustic vocal, really close up vocal. And so it's really intimate, and like, it's one of my favorite tracks for sure.
Which track are you most excited about playing then when we actually do start gigging? Out of, say, all your music that you've got out there at the moment, which one are you more excited to play in front of everybody?
Well, I'm excited to play Shut It Down because, something new happened in Shut It Down that I had never done before. And when I was working with the producer, we were getting all these solos. We were looking for a solo part for the song because it kind of had this part that was wide open. Yeah. And so we were getting a bunch of solos back from guitar players, and we'd put them into the song, and it was just like, wow, but the song doesn't really, it just kind of keeps it going the same way and nothing new really happens. And so the producer looks at me and he's like, well, Codie, have you ever thought about doing a rap part? And I said, man, I grew up on the farm in Saskatchewan, checking cows, driving tractors. No, I've never thought about rapping before. And so he's like, well, let's just sit down and see what we can come up with. So we sat down and we wrote that part, like the rap part, and Shut It Down in about, I'd say 2 minutes, and it was written. And I went into the vocal booth and laid it down. And in the end of time, when it came down to the doing the final cuts and what are we keeping, what are we throwing, it ended up being one of the coolest parts of the album. And so in live scene, people just are a little bit like that, like you said, that makes them look up from when they're having their beer or when they're visiting with someone. All of a sudden this guy who's playing country music starts to do a rap part in the middle of a song. That'll kind of throw anyone for a loop.
When you're actually, what I'm going to go into now is the videos that you do for your actual songs. Yeah. Now, there's one video that I particularly love, and that's the one that's for Last Night All Day.
Right.
It's basically filmed in a mechanic shop, like a car garage.
Yeah, exactly.
Who creates the ideas for the videos for that? Is that you, or is that a creative manager, or?
Well, so it's a joint effort. It's collaborative. I work with a producer usually, and so we get ideas together. So basically, I'll pick a song, and then I'll start thinking about the song, and I'll start thinking about maybe directions we could go, and then I'll come up with a list of ideas, and I'll send it to the video director, and he'll do the same thing, come up with a list of ideas. And then basically once we get our ideas compiled, we see which way we want to actually take the video. And so that one just worked out awesome because we kind of had a similar idea. But then for the location, we were like, well, we need a car garage, but we don't need any car garage. We need a car garage. It's kind of, was kind of put together in 1963, and the guy never really did anything else with it. He just always worked with cars in there. And so we were going through all these small towns. I remember going to shows and stuff and coming back through small towns. I'd stop in every single small town and look at their car garages. And finally I found one in a small town just outside of Saskatoon. And so we approached a guy, and he's like, oh, man, I have to clean up the shop if you guys are coming to do a music video. And we're like, oh, no, don't touch anything. Just leave it exactly the way it is. Yeah. And so, so we went out to the small town, and we had the crew with us, and we did the video. And, man, it's quite cool how, sometimes, you're not really sure where that location or where that thing's going to come from. But, if you can visualize it and you can start to put the ideas in motion, the pieces will show up and fall into place.
Yeah. Now, the song itself is a great song. It's basically, it's a love story.
It is, for sure.
Where was the idea for that song? Was it experiences or?
Well, so basically, I actually didn't write that one. Yeah. That was one of the songs on my albums that I didn't write. But I remember there's a guy named Matthew West, and he's an awesome Christian artist and one of my favorites. And I remember starting to listen to his music. And so I started listening to his music, and he had these songs written by a bunch of the same writers that wrote this song. And I thought, boy, I want to, you know what I mean? I really want to check into more of those songs because I'm looking for something like that on the new album. And so I came across this song last night all day, and it was right exactly what I was looking for. The love song with the feel good message. And so, yeah, man, it worked out. And it's funny how when you're looking for songs that aren't the ones that you wrote, it's funny how the ones, when you know they're the right ones for you. And this one popped out right away.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to pick that song. It wasn't because you didn't write it, but because you portray the story in such a true fashion.
Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly why I picked it, you know, and a lot of times also, like when I'm doing albums, I'll look at, okay, what do I have on this album? I have a song that's maybe sadder. I have a party song. I have a drinking song. I got like a song about, family members. And then what am I missing? You know what I mean? And sometimes, on that album, I was missing the love song. You know what I mean? So it's you look at all angles and see what you need, because you really want diversity in your albums too. And so that's the cool thing about getting sometimes to listen to outside songs and see what everybody else has to contribute.
Now, I mentioned your wife earlier, Ashley. She's actually in one of your videos, Standing Still.
Yes.
What was it like? Did you go to her and say, Ashley, do you want to be in a video? Or how did that whole thing come about?
Man, I can't really remember, but I remember we were doing country music festivals out. Like that video was shot about probably 16 hours from where we live.
Yeah.
So we were on tour doing some country music festivals, and she was with us on that tour. And so I had asked her, because I knew she was with me, and we needed a female to be in the video. And I thought, well, what better thing than to have my wife right in the video with me, so it just worked out perfect. And she had never been in a video, so it was cool for her, and it was awesome for me, because I was like, I was still fairly new. Like, I think that was my second official music video that I had ever shot.
Yeah.
So, for me and her to experience that together was a pretty cool moment, and definitely something, that we both won't ever forget. And what's cool about it now is that we have two young girls. We can turn on YouTube and show them the video that we're both in, and so that part's pretty cool too.
Now, that song on the albums is one of the slower songs. Is that the whole point of that song? There needs to be one of the slower songs on the album to take it down a bit, because the melody on that song as well is just so catchy.
Like I was saying, the diversity and stuff of albums, to me, to do an album, it wouldn't make sense if every song was the same tempo and super fast and up tempo. You know what I mean? I think people's have to be surprised a bit. And I think, the goal is to try to, like I said, bring a album as a theme, but have different characteristics in that theme. And so that's, what I mean? That's the goal with getting different tempo songs on an album. But that one definitely, that was one of my favorites for sure on the Get Loud album.
Now, one of the questions that I want to finish on the All Kinds of Crazy kind of album is why the Circus, P.T. Barnum cover for the album? Is that because it's just so crazy, or?
Oh, it is, and so I always try to, this is one of the things that I've always focused on. So I'm an independent artist, which means I don't have a label who I'm under.
Yeah.
So I don't really have the big team, I guess you could say, to, what I mean? And the big resources of financial aid and stuff that come along with having that big label behind you.
Yeah.
So what I've always focused on is how can I be different? Because I don't have those things at this moment in my life. How can I be different? How can I stand apart from the crowd? And every single country album that I looked at would show a close-up of the person's face. You know what I mean? And it was oh, here's the artist, there's their name, and there's the album title, which is, you know what I mean, is fine.
Yeah.
But it's all the albums were like that. So I was like, well, so what can we do that's different? And I got together with my my artwork guy, the guy who was doing my artwork, and I said, man, I'd love to do something different. He said, well, well, have you ever thought about going like in the album's all kinds of crazy? So he said, have you ever thought about doing like a circus shoot? And I said, well, that's awesome. That's awesome. But we live in Saskatchewan. Like, where are we going to find a circus? And so he's like, well, let's think on it. And so it wasn't 2 days later, I get a text and he's like, are you ready to do a shoot? And I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, lo and behold, I got on the phone, checked out some things, and the circus is through Saskatoon this weekend.
Oh, what's a chance?
Which was the next day. And I was like, and I went down, the artwork guy said, I went down there, I met with the guys. They're willing to let us go in an hour before the circus and shoot these photos. Yeah. And so I was like, well, holy cow. Okay, so I know I'm not really ready. I don't have any clothes or nothing. I'm not ready. And he's like, don't worry, show up at my house. And we had an awesome wardrobe designer working with us. And so I showed up at his house the next day, and there's like ringleader clothes and the makeup. And like, it's just crazy, all the stuff they had. And they dressed me up and I looked like Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And we went down to the circus, and I had no clue that we were going to be able to take a photo with the elephants. And so basically what happened is we were taking all these photos. We had some of the people who worked in the circus riding the bikes and, putting a sword down their throat and shooting fire. And so quite a bit of cool stuff. And then all of a sudden, there was one moment, it was near the end of the shoot, and I was pretty nervous. I was like, I don't know why I got a nervous feeling right now. And I looked behind, 2 giant elephants coming my way. And I just remember the photographer said to me, Codie, we need you to act natural because we only have 5 minutes to get this shot. Yeah. So I was like, holy cow, man, 5 minutes? Like, how can you act natural when there's 2 giant elephants, one on either side of you, and putting their trunks all over you? So anyway, lo and behold, we took some shots and we finally got the album cover shot, and it worked out better than I could have imagined. Like, people always say, oh, like, how photoshopped is the front cover? And I'm like, man, it's not photoshopped. Like, there might be a little bit of colorization.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, that's the way the photo looks is exactly what happened. So man, it was awesome.
That's crazy. I mean, when I first saw the cover, the cover art for the album, I thought, wow, that's either CGI, that's either Photoshop, or he's been very, very lucky and got something organised. Now, I did not think for 1 second that was an actual live photo. That is fantastic.
Oh, man, it was crazy. And like, so part of my mailing list and stuff, I sent out like behind the scenes photos, because there was so many photos we got that day that didn't make it on the album.
Yeah.
But there's so many photos, like, of all the things I've talked about that just people loved seeing. And I was like, yeah, because it was one of the coolest days of my life.
That's crazy. So we're going to go back onto the radio album then.
Yeah.
When you're actually, going to the studio and you're laying down the tracks for radio, when you're actually in the studio performing, what is your thoughts and your processes when you was recording this one? What was you looking for, as a musician? What was you looking for creativity-wise?
Well, so I was looking for something totally different from what I'd done before. And so what I had done before is we'd go into a studio, book the studio for 3 days, have all the musicians come in, and then we'd have charts to the songs, and we'd listen to an acoustic demo, go in and all play the song, which was awesome. But on this one, I was like, man, I really want to build each song. I want to, don't get me wrong, there was about 1 or 2 songs that still did go the old route, like where we went into a studio and recorded the tracks and stuff. But the majority of the album was recorded starting with an acoustic track and then adding in drums, then adding in if we wanted some effects, and then adding in, like, if I knew a player that was perfect, like the steel player on clock radio.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm sending this song to BC tonight, or British Columbia, which is another province, to a musician I know. And so he'd play the parts and send them back. And then, I know a bass player in Toronto, so I'm going to send this track to him. And so I did pretty much the full album like that. And so it was pretty cool, because basically each part, I was able to sit and think about each part before it happened. When you're in the studio and stuff with a group of musicians, it's awesome because it comes together so fast. But when you're doing one track at a time, it gives you the capabilities and the opportunity to get that track, put it into the song. Is it the right track? or do we need a different track? And if it's the right track, so now what else do we need for this song? And who can play that next part just the way we want it? You know, so you're focusing on each song, on each part, and you're making it exactly what you want. And that was what was like a dream come true on this album for me.
Yeah. Now, when you look back to first releasing The Road Ahead in 2005 to where you are now with radio, what is the one thing that stands out to you, that one moment where you just think, wow, this is crazy?
Oh man, it's come so far. Like, you know, like I was mentioning before, from the experiences in the studios over the past 10 years, like just getting that experience and having that experience and knowing what you want. Like, I think I can't speak for other people, but for me, when I started as an artist, you know, I thought I kind of knew what I wanted, but I had no clue, man. Like, I just was like, I'd just go in the studio and then songs would come out and they were awesome. Like, they sounded great. But as time went on, I realized that, oh, well, that actually might not be what I want, though. Yeah. I might want to, you know, have my own thoughts and have my own ideas for each part and, like, you know, make the music my own. And so that's where it's come to now. And that's, you know, that's an exciting time because you can sit in your home studio, you can create new things. You know what I mean? I find I'm creating my best work that I've ever created just from the experience of those years.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you was an independent artist. Are you looking in the future to ever sign up with a label, or are you just happy just having your own roles and doing your own thing and making sure you're in 100% control?
I'm always open for opportunity, for sure. You know, and if the right thing came along, I would definitely look at it because, you know, I always have had an open mind. And don't get me wrong, there's been opportunities to do things in the past, but a lot of the deals that came across the table, from what I could see from the contracts that I was offered, looked more like a distribution deal, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
And for me, I just wasn't really sure that a distribution deal would help me out that much because I was already going through TuneCore, already going through these avenues to get my music on the digital platforms. And, you know, I just couldn't see that much opportunity apart from what I was already doing in those. But, you know, definitely if I got opportunity where it said, well, look, we're going to guarantee these things and we're going to guarantee that you get on these tours and these spots, I would, you know, be head over heels looking at those deals for sure, you know, so I'm always open-minded to that.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned earlier about possibility of coming to the UK.
Yeah.
Go on, talk a bit more about that. When are we going to see you here, or is that just
I
sure
talks? I sure hope so. You know, a lot has changed since I was in those discussions, like obviously with the way the world has went here. Yeah. And so, you know what I mean? There's going to be more updates coming up soon, but I'm definitely hoping, like, there was a pretty good chance that I was going to be coming to the UK, potentially in a short time period from now. And so I'm definitely looking forward to hopefully, you know, those things will still be happening. So I'll definitely keep in touch and obviously update any updates on my social medias and websites about the opportunity that I potentially have to get over there to see you guys.
That's awesome. So do you want to read out your social media pages?
Yeah, for sure. So on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Codie Prevost Music. And I should say my name, Codie, is spelt with an I-E. So it's C-O-D. Yeah, C-O-D-I-E. Prevost. And then Twitter, you can find me, just look up Codie Prevost. My website's codieprevost.com. On the website, you can get to the CodieRoadies.com. That's my fan club if you're interested in joining. You can also sign up free for the Codie Prevost Diaries, and that's my newsletter where you'll get all the stories about my career. And there's also a store there with all the merchandise and T-shirts and sweaters and coffee mugs and whatever you like.
Yeah. Now that's one of the main... Other than selling music, that's the other main kind of income you get from, you know, being an artist, is that whole merchandise side.
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny how the world has shifted, and you're well aware of this, I'm sure. But, you know, when I first started playing music, I was selling CDs, like I was selling probably 10, 20, 30. And this was just when I was first starting, 10, 20, 30 CDs a night. So that's, you know what I mean? That adds up quite a bit. But then streaming came out, and So now the way things have went, it's very important to have your merchandise stores and your fan clubs, and because that's one of the main ways that us as artists can continue to make music and be creative is by having those platforms and having our biggest supporters in there helping us achieve to continue to do music.
So yeah, that just the message to everybody is just check out the website, just check out the merchandise and check out the music, because the music is absolutely fantastic. I personally love the music. That's what we're all here for.
Yeah, you bet, Dom. Thank you very much, my friend.
All right, so we're getting towards the end of the podcast. Is there anything that I've missed or anything you want to add?
You know what? I don't think so, man. This has been an awesome podcast. I can't believe how much stuff we've covered in a short period of time.
Oh, there is one thing. Your wife, Ashley, she started her own little company, hasn't she?
Yeah, so she's actually doing makeup, and it's pretty cool. Like it's called Hot Mess Mascara, and so she's been doing all these videos and all these promos, and man, I'm proud of her. She's been doing really good with this new makeup, and so I can't speak about it a lot, but you can check her out on Facebook. Her it's called Hot Mess Makeup or Hot Mess Mascara Makeup, and so. And her name's Codie Prevost, obviously, so you can find it under there also. But people are just really been supporting her, and the videos she's been doing, I've just it's been amazing, man. It's truly incredible.
That's brilliant, especially with all this, the lockdown stuff that's going on. It's great to have something to put your time to and the effort that because you're not gigging and you're not going out anywhere. It's great to put that time usefully.
Oh, for sure. And like I say, with 2 kids at home and stuff, it just works awesome. That type of business for her is just truly a blessing.
The last thing as well is your music for radio on your website is 99 cents in Canadian dollars.
Yep.
Now in the UK, that actually, when you look at the conversion charts, that's only 57p per song.
So is that pretty cheap?
That's brilliantly cheap. So there's no excuse for everybody to say they can't buy it. So everybody buy it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Dom. That's awesome.
All right. So what I like to do at the end of my podcast is I like to ask a couple personal questions, like what do you do on a night out? What kind of things do you drink? tea, coffee, alcohol, anything like that. So are you ready?
Cool, man. Yes.
So what do you drink? Tea or coffee or that kind of thing?
I drink both, but I've mostly coffee. Like in the morning, I love to have coffee.
Yeah. Do you eat biscuits or crisps, potato chips, anything like that?
Oh man, don't even go there.
I'm going there.
Well, I love. So we have dill pickle potato chips.
Oh, they sound nice.
They're like my weakness. Those, and there's also ones called ketchup potato chips.
Yeah.
And those two are just I actually quit for a while because I was I have to jog way more because I gotta stay in shape when I want to eat those chips so much.
Now it's crazy because you're actually a really, really trim kind of guy. You're well built and you look very fit and healthy. What is your workout routine? Do you just run or?
Well, I've been trying something new and it's been pretty cool. So I was reading a book by Robin Sharma called The 5 a.m. Club.
Yeah.
And so basically the whole thing is in the book is that however you start the first hour of your day is how the rest of your day will unfold. And so basically he says he's a really true believer in getting up before the sun. So basically you get up at 4:45 and you get straight on the treadmill. And you run hard for 20 minutes and you're sweating. Then you get off the treadmill and for 20 more minutes, you sit down at your desk, no electronics, and you journal and you think about your day. And then 20 minutes after that, for the next 20 minutes, so for the first hour of the day, for the last 20 minutes, you're learning something new. So you're either reading a book about a new skill or just something. And man, I tell you, it's truly incredible. The difference it makes in positivity, the difference it makes in just having energy the full day and being able to keep up and not have stress. And it's been awesome. So I've been actually working on that quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, in Canada, especially towards the northern ends, it's going to be a lot easier because the sun's a bit different than what it is close to the equator. It's
right.
The nights are a bit longer and the days can be a bit longer in the summertime as well.
Yeah, for sure. But I think the whole point of it was, no matter what time the sun comes up, is just how you start the first hour of your day is how the rest of it will unfold, more than likely.
Yeah, you find that's really helped you personally develop.
Oh, it's awesome. And, when you're sitting there, you're thinking about, you actually keep a journal and you start journaling and write about how you see your day going, even before it's happened. So you're kind of setting it up like you're planning your day out in a way that you want to see it go in, and more than likely that's going to happen after you've sat down and planned that.
Hey, you never know. In a year or two's time, when you're looking for song ideas, you'll be able to look back at the journal and think, oh, there's an idea.
Oh, yeah. Like I've got journals full already. So it's definitely, when I look back, there's going to be, I'll be like, oh, I forgot I even wrote about that. Or I forgot I was feeling that day.
Yeah, it's crazy how time flies, and then how things have changed from, when you look back a year, when you look back 5 years, 10 years, it's just crazy.
Oh, it is. It goes fast too.
All right, so back to the questions. What do you do on a normal night? What is your routine?
So on a normal night, was this before or after having children?
We'll go both, before and after.
Yeah, so before, I don't know, my wife and I, we would just, a lot of times we'd go out with friends, not every night, but you know what I mean? We'd love to get together with friends on the weekend, and still we do like to do that as much as we can. But obviously right now with what's going on, it's not happening as much. But, I should say right now, one of the things that we've come to enjoy during this time of lockdown is, our friends, they get some online games, and then we all get together on these house party apps, they're called, and these different things, and we're playing these online games. So, you know what I mean? That's been actually quite a bit of fun. And it's, what I enjoy most about it is, I'm not sure I even enjoy the games that much, but it's after the games are over and we're all sitting there, you can still see each other on a screen. And so you're all visiting. And, one of my favorite things, and my wife's too, is to visit with people and our friends. And so we've always loved getting together, and we've loved hosting people. And that's one of our favorite things. But on a regular night, you know what I mean? After the kids go to bed, we'll sit down, have a glass of wine, and just chill out and talk about the day. And so, yeah, it's been, that's kind of what we enjoy. I love going fishing, to tell you the truth, anytime I can go fishing, I will.
Yeah. Do you go fishing on your own, or do you take, friends with you? Or
a little of both. Sometimes friends come, but I do enjoy those mornings. Sometimes when you just go by yourself, there's not a wave on the water, and you're just out there and you just hear the birds, and it's just there's nothing. There's just, no noise. That's some of my favorite mornings. But I'm definitely also looking forward to taking my girls fishing, because I haven't really yet. They've been a little bit young, but this year's the year, I think.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed you can actually get out and, see actually get out on the fishing lakes and all the areas around where you can, just to get out and see the world again. Being stuck inside is just so, it's just so blur. It's so horrible.
It can get to you for sure. So it's, we're looking forward to summer here.
What kind of meals would you have on a night? What is health orientated? Is it keto? Is it meat? Is it vegetarian?
We try to eat fairly healthy, but we obviously have meat in our diet. Any night we'll have a meat and a potato and a vegetable, usually for supper. And for dinner, once we had kids, we started eating a few more chicken nuggets and stuff for dinner. But usually I'll make a salad also, so that I hope that offsets it a little bit.
What kind of restaurants do you have in Saskatoon? Is it do you have any fast food outlets, say, using the typical name brands, McDonald's? Is it that kind of thing there?
Yeah, we have all those and then some. And we also got you can go out and sit down for a meal. Obviously not right now again.
Yeah.
But I think the drive-throughs are still open, but that would be it.
What's your kind of favorite restaurant to go to then, both as a family or with friends?
So I'm more of a pub. If there's a little pub with good burgers and good fries, that's some of my favorite places to go eat. I'm always game for that.
Hey, you'll love it in the UK then.
Yeah. Well, that's what I heard. I heard it's good. There's a lot of pubs and stuff there.
Yeah, a lot of the pubs here, they have a lot of home-cooked foods. So,
oh, wow.
Different kinds of burgers and pies and all that kind of stuff. You'll enjoy it.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, fingers crossed you come here soon then.
For sure. I
think I've asked everything I can. Other than just a reminder for everybody, just to check out the website, www.codieprevost.com. And just on Twitter and Facebook, and just check out the music. The music is all that matters at the end of the day. And like I've said, and like what I'll keep on saying, is I love what you've got out there at the moment. I'm looking forward to anything in the future.
Thanks, Dom. I appreciate all your support and all your help, and you having me on this podcast.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. Have you got any plans for today?
You know what? I was about to go. I'm going to go for a jog here right away, actually, with my daughter. She's just learning to ride two wheels on a bike, like without the training wheels. So I jog and she bikes, and we'll see who can keep up today.
Yeah, we'll wait till she starts getting faster and faster and faster.
Well, I've been thinking about that.
Dreading that day.
Yeah, exactly, Dom.
Awesome. So thank you for coming on. It's been fun talking to you. It's been great.
Yeah, same with you, my friend. And hopefully when I get over there, I'll let you know, and then maybe we can meet up or something. That'd be cool.
Well, fingers crossed. If you're definitely coming over here, I'll be definitely buying a ticket. So I'll definitely be seeing one of your concerts here.
Cool, Dominic. I appreciate that, my friend.
Awesome. Everybody have a good day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.
Yeah, let me know when this is out, and I'll be sure to share it and, obviously send it around. So
no problem. I'll let you know. I'll message you after here. Okay, yeah, take care. Cool. Take care, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
That was the Country Chat Podcast. Join Dom next time for exclusive interviews, reviews, and general chit-chat on all things country music.